As a fan of the Mana series, I was very excited to see that we got a demo for Visions of Mana, and I'm here to take you through what I liked about the demo, what I didn't like about the demo, and how it compares to other games in the Mana franchise. So if that's all something that interests you, then stay tuned and keep on watching. If you've never played any of the Mana games before, they originated as the Seiken Densetsu series, and as a matter of fact, actually started as Final Fantasy Adventure on the original Game Boy, and then was popularized by Secret of Mana, and we've seen more recent entries, such as Trials of Mana in 2020, come around that utilizes a 3D engine. And Visions of Mana is the most recent entry in that franchise, and is the first Mana game we've seen that's brand new in a very long time. So series veterans like myself are very excited to see where this one goes. So the Mana games have real-time combat as opposed to a traditional JRPG, and in Visions of Mana you've got, as you can see here, wide open areas and zones for you to explore either on foot or on the back of the adorable Peakle that you can see on the screen here, whilst also engaging in various fights and using the multiple characters and taking control of them individually, just pressing up or down on the D-pad to be able to switch characters. And you do this by just utilizing small, like light and heavy attacks, or you can use spells, or you can swap characters and eventually use the L2 button to unleash a class skill, which is different depending on which class your characters happen to be at the time. So I actually played the demo through twice, and I'd say the demo gives you maybe an hour or two's worth of gameplay, and it's not one of those demos where you can play through the game and then you carry on the save after you finish the demo, because it doesn't start you right at the start of the game. So as you can see, I've sort of like had half an hour on the first playthrough because I didn't really click with it, to be honest, at the beginning, and I was kind of like, oh, the combat feels a little bit sluggish, it doesn't quite flow the way I want it to. But I'm glad I went back to it a second time because I started to understand a little more about how the combat in Visions of Mana works. And your strikes have to be a lot more deliberate than you might be used to in the likes of Kingdom Hearts, for example. And you have to kind of make sure you're positioned correctly with each of your characters and you utilize the spells correctly to make sure that you can tackle the enemies efficiently. The characters in Mana are pretty lovable, and Visions of Mana is no exception. The party's actually quite unique comparatively to previous Mana titles, with the party that we had in the demo here. So Val, who is a heavy-hitting tank type character, Karina, who kind of takes the role of a mage slash dancer, and Morley, who is your fencer slash thief style character. And you have Hina here, who is a integral character within the plot of Visions of Mana, but isn't a playable character. Taking part in the combat here, as you can see with this tutorial that's going on, you are expected to take advantage of elemental weaknesses and strike weaknesses as well, which plays into what I was talking about earlier with the deliberation that goes into combat. It does feel mashy like at the beginning, but once you get into the intricacies of how it all works, and more importantly the job slash class system that you get more in depth with as time goes on, you'll find there's more depth than you might have first realized. You'll come across various elemental spirits throughout the game, and there were 2 present in the demo, and I believe there's a third that you can unlock that I didn't do in either time of I played through the demo, but it enables each of your characters to change jobs. So this will allow you to unlock new skills that you can transfer between jobs, and you'll have unique skills that you can only use while you have that job equipped. But also the jobs are completely different depending on which character you're playing as. So I'm very much looking forward to the idea of obtaining a wide variety of these different elemental vessels so that I can customize my party pretty much however I want. So the demo contains a few different explorable areas. The first one, which was the snow area you saw earlier in the video, is a little bit smaller and just teaches you kind of the basics of combat. Then you have this larger area where you're expected to explore on foot and on the back of the Peakle, so that you can go looking for side quests, mobs to fight, things that level up. The map actually does showcase where you can find elemental points to help you level up your jobs, as well as treasures that you can find located on the map. Then you started to explore into a harbour as well, which is a typical kind of town fair that you would see in a traditional JRPG. So the places where you can go shopping for new weapons, new items, pick up side quests, go to the inn if you need to heal your party, that kind of thing. And then near the end we found a boss, which was the Kraken, and if I wanted to, I could have like grinded more levels throughout the demo. but I didn't really feel the need to. I kind of just wanted to get stuck in with the jobs that I had, and I do feel that there is more for me to explore within the demo, which I may well go back to. But I feel fairly confident that I already want Visions of Mana, especially as somebody who's a fan of the franchise, so I don't really want to continue to play the demo knowing that there's no additional reason for me to with the full game. So while there might be more explorables to grab and things like that within the demo, I don't personally feel the need to do so. I did enjoy kind of little bits and pieces that were references to other games in the Mana franchise. So for example, you have the ship that's present in this cutscene here that's named Prim, or The Prim, which if you've played Secret of Mana, you might recognize that name. But I do think that Visions of Mana stands very well on its own and doesn't require knowledge of previous Mana games for the player, if they're new to the franchise, to jump in and get stuck in if they want to. And if you do enjoy Visions of Mana, I highly recommend playing the 2020 remake of Trials of Mana as well, as that's something that I really enjoy as a cathartic game much like this one. I will say, however, that at no point during the demo did I find the game particularly challenging. Now, of course, this is only a demo, but having played a lot of the Mana games in previous years, this is something I've noticed is a bit of a trend across the franchise. And I remember with Trials of Mana, there were new difficulty levels added into the game after it had been released because a lot of people said that it was too easy. So what I'm hoping is that in the full game, there will be more of these difficulty settings available from the get-go, because players who've played the games a lot are not going to find much challenge here, and I like to go into my games with a lot of challenge in mind. The visual style for Visions of Mana is something I really enjoy. I love this kind of cartoonish, like, Studio Ghibli-esque vibe that the Mana games bring to the table. I do think that they went a little bit heavy with the bloom effect, so sometimes, particularly in the snowy areas, the brightness was a little bit in your face, but the music was really pleasant as well, so the audio-visual aspect of Visions of Mana is something that I really liked. However, from a technical standpoint, and I played this on PS5, I did find the frame rate to be a little bit inconsistent at times, and it does that thing a lot of games do where the gameplay will be in 60 frames per second, but the cutscenes will only be in 30, and I've never understood why that happens, so perhaps somebody in the comments could enlighten me as to why that happens so frequently in modern games. I will say this with regards to the combat as well. You can't really use light and heavy attacks within succession in a combo. You're either using light attacks or heavy attacks, and I found that to be a bit of an odd design choice considering that Trials of Mana didn't play like that. And small things such as you being able to only jump once in towns as opposed to being able to double jump and air dash in combat areas, but there being places where you're still expected to perform platforming areas within towns, I thought was a bit of an odd decision. But all in all, there were very small kind of gripes that I had that didn't take away from the overall experience. When I played the game for that first half an hour the first time, I was really worried that I didn't click with what I felt was clunkiness within the combat, but as I said earlier, the second time I played through it, I started to find my groove with it, and while I don't think it's going to be like blowing anybody's minds with the way in which it plays, it's a very comfortable experience. If you've played a Mana game or any action RPG before, you'll probably find that Visions of Mana is something that will give you something that feels homely and a warm feeling that it's something you'll already know how to play by the time you get to it. All in all, I enjoyed my time with the Visions of Mana demo, and it's definitely a game that I plan to pick up when it's got its full release later on in August. But I will also admit that I am slightly biased as somebody who is a fan of the franchise already and will catch references, feels very at home with the way the game plays. I'm not entirely sure how other people are going to feel about the game when it drops, and at $59.99, it's going to be an interesting thing to see how other people feel about it. Some people may feel that it's a bit on the simple side, some people might feel that it's not this sprawling epic, or at least from what we've seen as of yet. But I'm really excited to see where Visions of Mana goes, and I really hope that people do give this game a chance when it drops, because it's something that I really enjoy and really like talking about. I love the franchise. I love Secret of Mana, Trials of Mana, even Dawn of Mana. And Dawn of Mana is like the black sheep of the group. I still quite like it, so I'm looking forward to Visions of Mana when it drops later on this month. So let me know in the comments below whether it's something that you're looking forward to as well. And if you're not sure what to comment, then just type the word algorithm, because it helps me out when it comes to being a YouTuber, and I thank you for it. So yeah, that's my impressions of the Visions of Mana demo. I'll be sure to bring a full review when the main game drops on the 29th of August, and I look forward to seeing how this pans out. But if you're new to the channel, then perhaps consider subscribing for more JRPG art and fighting game news and all sorts of other things that I'll be talking about in the future as well. And give the video a like if it's something you'd like to see more of. But for the time being, I shall love you and leave you there. Thank you ever so much for joining me, and I shall look forward to seeing you next time. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.